Now, Caleb, Auburn brought in transfer class that ranked number 36 in the nation, but a lot of really good players here who I expect to find the field pretty early, namely the lone four-star Keandre Lambert-Smith, the receiver they transferred from Penn State. What has it been like for Keandre now that he's at Auburn and really participating with the entire program in all facets of their practice and in all their meetings?
Well, that was a room obviously that Auburn really needed to improve in under year two with Hugh Freeze. The receiver room in year one was definitely lacking some SEC caliber guys, some guys that could really help Auburn compete in that area. And they brought in a great high school class, but Keandre Lambert Smith was a fantastic addition. Out of the transfer portal this offseason, the number one leading receiver from Penn State a season ago. You get a veteran presence that can really help the young guys out, give them advice. Can just really be somebody in that locker room that they can go to and ask questions, and that's important. You need a guy like that. You need a veteran guy who's not only talented but just proven an elite receiver and at the biggest stage.
Yeah, well, he's not the only receiver they brought in via the transfer portal. Robert Lewis comes over from Georgia State, but there are a few other important pieces in this transfer class that I'm sure are already making an impression on the Auburn coaching staff and on the entire team, really. So, who has stood out to you that you've seen or that you've heard of?
Well, we've heard a lot of good things about a lot of guys. Robert Lewis, you mentioned him going through spring practice. We've heard that he has been a very good teacher to the young guys, somebody that they can look up to. We've also heard a lot of good things about Sam Jackson, who came from California. He would play a little quarterback at California, but he's coming to Auburn as primarily a receiver, but he can kind of do it all. So you can kind of mix things up with him a little bit, run him on some jet sweeps, just kind of mix it up. And he's somebody that's familiar with Peyton Thorne, very familiar with Thorne's game. They played high school ball together. So that's another guy that we've heard a lot about. I know they're excited about Jaron Thompson, the safety transfer out of Texas. Rico Walker, the tight end from Maryland, is going to provide them some depth. That is something that they have really focused on in the transfer portal is adding depth, especially along the defensive line. You added guys like Gage Keys, Philip Leedy, Trill Carter. So they really kind of beefed up their depth on the defensive line. That was a huge need going into the offseason, going into the transfer portal, the transfer window. And one final guy that I'll mention is Keyron Crawford, the Arkansas State transfer, who's going to come in and help kind of be a pass rusher off the edge there, kind of fall into that buck position that Auburn likes to have. They needed some guys there. They had a guy or two last year, and they've got some young guys that are probably going to see the field. But adding a guy like Keyron is a huge step for Auburn in its pass rushing game.
Well, you mentioned some of those young guys too. Auburn's number 10 comprehensive class is really powered by their number 8 high school class that they brought in. Of course, the headliner being Cam Coleman, the 5-star receiver, Perry Thompson, a high 4-star receiver, and Bryce Kane, another 4-star receiver. But what I want to talk about though is the clear focus on defense that the Auburn coaching staff had, not just in the high school class, but in the transfer class too. Of the 35 total players that they brought in the 2024 cycle, 22 of them on defense. Now, of the high school class, which were 20 signees, 13 of them on defense there. So of these guys, a lot of them are already on campus. They were early enrollees. Which ones stood out immediately to you guys?
Well, yeah, it's kind of like you mentioned. The headliner is going to be Cam Coleman. That's going to get a lot of attention. But on defense, there are some guys that are probably going to see the field this year, one way or another, just based off of current situations, maybe at their position, injuries. One guy that will likely see the field just because of some things that have happened is going to be Jay Crawford. He's somebody that's competing for a spot at cornerback, competing to maybe for a starting job, but more than likely going to kind of come in and sub out, especially with you lose Colton Hood, who was probably your number 3 corner. You lose him to the transfer portal. He heads to Colorado. And then Tyler Scott is out for the season with injury. So Auburn loses two young corners, and now Jay Crawford has this opportunity to kind of come in and step up and maybe make some plays. Another guy that's really turned heads is Amaris Williams, the one-time Florida commit who flipped to Auburn right there by signing day. And we've heard a lot of good things about Amaris and his work ethic and the way that he plays. He's built just like you need him to be, and he's only going to get stronger. Caleb Harris out of Thompson, rated as a 3-star, I believe. He is kind of excelling. He's learning a lot, and we've heard a lot of good things about what he's been able to do. But I mean, you look across the defense and some of these young guys. Jamonte Waller's another guy that is going to provide Auburn some help. Right there, kind of in that buck position. Like, you just need that depth there, and you got some young guys there like Jamonte, and then Joe Phillips, another guy. So the list goes on and on. We've talked a lot about this, just on our podcast and things like that, where you look across this class, this high school class, and yeah, you've got some pieces on offense that they're going to help immediately. Perry and Cam, but across the defense, there are some guys that I genuinely think that a lot of these guys are going to see the field in year one or really have a chance to help contribute.
Yeah, definitely. We love Jamonte Waller as a pass rusher. Demarcus Riddick as an off-the-ball linebacker is going to be a stud for Auburn.
Yes.
Really excited about his game. Amaris Williams is a guy I covered pretty closely throughout the high school recruiting process, and incredibly impressed with his physical ability. Played a lot of running back coming out of high school as well. At 6'3", 270 pounds, just an outstanding physical specimen there. And I can't let you go without just gushing over Cam Coleman, right? I mean, this guy's making a ton of plays already in the off season through spring practice, spring game. I'm really excited to see what he does this fall against SEC defenses. Him and Jeremiah Smith going, neck and neck for that number one receiver spot. Any other year, Cam Coleman probably would have been the number one receiver in the high school rankings if it weren't for Jeremiah Smith, who was just kind of a next level kind of prospect there. So Caleb, really excited to see what this Auburn class is able to do in their first year on campus, and these transfers, what kind of impact they're able to make, not just as potential starters, but bringing in some help as depth players. And like you mentioned, there's a lot of injuries right now, and especially in the secondary. So we'll see how those guys are able to contribute. So Caleb, thank you very much for breaking down Auburn's number 10 class in the comprehensive team rankings. Make sure you give Caleb a follow and check out all of his content on AuburnSports.com. I'm Rankings Director and Transfer Portal Analyst Adam Friedman. Please remember to subscribe to the Rivals.com YouTube channel and follow all of the Rivals social media accounts. And of course, you can find all of our content on Rivals.com. Thanks, Caleb.